All right. Greetings. Welcome back to Blackbird News, where everything is connected, and I'm very wet. We've got a lot of rain going on, which kind of contributed to the lateness of this start. Sorry about that. No, I'm starting a little bit late. But welcome. Greetings. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for waiting. Appreciate you. Are we talking about Devo in the Rockfin chats? Nice, Denver. Of course, because whip it good. Glad you guys are discussing the band name of said song lyric. Devo was one of my favorites when I was a kid. Denver says, I took Devo to be a cautionary note as they blended electronica and instrumental music with skill and originality. The reliance on non-instrumental music would ultimately devolve music as a whole to where instruments are no longer used. That's true. And that's already happened, right? And then we have AI generated music now. I think the ability to generate music using an AI. Yeah, Devo is one of my favorite bands ever. And I was a huge fan when I was young, when I was in like junior high. But we're using the word whip in reference to weather whiplash. Or, in the case of Klaus Schwab, who is in the thumbnail, he wants to crack the whip on humanity. Yeah, I don't like autotune. I've never, not one time in my entire musical career, used autotune. And I'm all for the humanizing of music, the rehumanizing of music. Right, there's a whole movement in music to play real instruments and have things not be totally perfectly in tune and not overproduced, and like I'm a fan of that school. I consider myself in that school. I try to, when I record music, I try to let it be a little bit sloppy, right? Because somebody made that. It wasn't, and somebody didn't sit in a studio and go, "Oh, we got to fix that part." Spent 8 hours editing a drum sound or something, crazy like that, right? Like I'm not downplaying if that's your bag, if you do spend 8 hours editing a drum sound. I mean, do what makes you feel good. But there is I think an immediacy and an honesty to just, playing some music and recording some music. Oh, thank you, Osama. I appreciate you. Thanks, man. Yeah, so if you hear some of my music and you're like, "Oh, that hit was a little bit off," or that harmony was a little bit off, or that vocal was just a tiny bit, well, you somebody played it, and that's how that's how it's supposed to sound, and nobody digitally altered that for your consumption. I didn't use autotune for my debut album. No, I did not. Not for any of my albums. I'm taking that as a joke. And lots of other. Oh yeah, totally. Guitar. If you tune your guitar half step down, richer sound as an instrumentalist. Sure. Okay. Well, let's talk about some things today. Because I can't go too much overtime, if at all. So, real quick, just housekeeping. A really good way to support the channel is Black Bear News, buymeacoffee.com at Black Bear News or / Black Bear News, however you want. They take the least bit of cut from the tips that you give on that, so that's kind of nice. I mean, there's several ways you can support the channel. But you can leave me a note there, and I'll check in at the end of the show. I'll read some coffee notes if you are of the mind. Rockfin is also a good way to support the channel. Of course, you can give me a YouTube chat tip, whatever they're called. Super chat. I think that's what they're called. Patreon. I got a couple of Patreon subscribers. Got a few. More than a couple. That is also a good place to support the channel. And I appreciate everybody that does. Okay. From Poppy. Oh, Per Larson says hi from. How do you pronounce that? Is it Mon? I'm taking that Swedish, or I don't know how you pronounce that. Mon, man. Poppy tweeted this out. Abrupt climate changes at Pyong Lake, China's largest, stands out among examples around the world. Wild swings between different kinds of extreme weather is becoming the new normal, and many wonder how they can adapt. We'll check this article out a little bit. 2 years ago, 6 Tone reported on the devastating floods that struck communities. Oh, Denmark. Danish. Thanks. I don't know that part of the world very well, so I know a little bit about it, not too much. It's Danish. Okay, how do you pronounce it, though? Is it Mon? Thanks for helping me out, and thanks for the Isle of Man. That's not it, is it? Thanks for somebody who told me that my title was misspelled yesterday. Thank you for pointing that out. 6 Tone reported on the devastating floods that struck communities living around Pyong Lake, China's largest freshwater lake. This October, we returned to the same area to record a very different scene, a historic drought. Global warming is leading to more frequent extreme weather events, whip it good, all over the world, and China is no exception. The record-breaking drought at Pyong Lake was just one of a series of disasters that struck the country this summer as blistering heat waves caused widespread wildfires and power outages. Remember, China had this incredible heat wave, lasted into the beginning of autumn. Europe is having a very warm winter. You could call it a heat wave for winter. The events at Pyong Lake stand out. Here, communities are facing the bleak reality that climate whiplash, wild swings between different kinds of extreme weather, is becoming the new normal. Many are wondering how they can prepare for a more dangerous future. Pyong Lake in the summer should look like the sea. In the past, locals living near the water only worried about the lake flooding during the wet season. In 2020, the water level surged to a record 22.63 meters, forcing 700,000 people to relocate and causing billions of dollars of damage. This year, however, there was no danger of flooding, as China baked amid an unprecedented heat wave. Huge swaths of the lake dried up. The exposed lake bed resembled an endless grassland. Some drier parts reminded viewers of the Gobi Desert. Surreal pictures of the drought went viral on Chinese social media, and people began traveling to Pyong Lake from all directions to take selfies and record the strange scene. Cracked ground and piles of dead fish were visible everywhere. Sorry, I let you look at some of these pictures. So this is dried up lake bed. As the drought continued, the severity of the disaster became clear. By August 6th, the water level at Pyong Lake had dropped below the drought threshold of 12 meters. According to Jingji Hydrological Station, by September 23rd, it had dropped to 7.1 meters, the lowest level ever recorded, and it kept going down. The lowest level ever recorded. Oh, Moon. Thanks. I was waiting for somebody to tell me how it was pronounced. Moon. The Isle of Moon? Moon Island? Oh, right. Well, that's the lowest it's ever been. So, golly, it must be that somebody with a big straw is sucking all the water out of the lake, and all the lakes all around the world all at the same time. They're coordinated like that, right? It's kind of a cool name, Moon. Right? Not only are extreme weather events happening, they're happening all over the world at the same time, in the same year, in just the same way. Wow, it's coordination for you. Cliffside homes in Santa Monica, I don't know. They're there, and they're eroding. The ground beneath them is eroding every single year. Zhang Mingjin, the chief climate change expert at Jiangxi Provincial Meteorological Bureau, said that more than 50% of Jiangxi province experienced severe drought during that period. This year's drought is the most severe since 1961, but we don't know how severe it will be yet. These look like images of other lakes and rivers, the lakes and the rivers that you're used to. By October, the river running through Dixi, one of the villages near the northeastern shores of Pyong Lake, had almost dried up. Most of the riverbed was lying exposed, with just a few streams cutting through the sand. The bridge leading into the village was a striking sight. The falling water line had revealed its entire 30-meter-high skeleton. Not far from the bridge, local villager Huang Laiyuan and his wife Yu Guoyan were trying to decorate their new home, the second new home they have built in 2 years. In 2015, Huang borrowed nearly 1 million yuan from relatives to build a new house, but the building was destroyed during the 2020 flood. A couple remember the horrifying moment their 5-story home suddenly tilted, sank, and disappeared under the water before their eyes. Everything has gone, Yu recalls during thinking at the time. Our house, work tools, marriage certificate, jewelry, and tally book, they're all gone. Andre, folks are moving to your neck of the woods because they know it's happening, right? Because they know it's happening. Regardless of the insistence that nothing is happening, I think people can see with their own eyes something's happening. And so they are making moves. They're making moves. They're like, where am I going to put myself and my family, so that I can survive the coming extremes? So the prices are tax and insurance have basically doubled. Property tax and insurance have doubled because of people moving in. Yeah. Sounds about right. Well, that's happening in China. We're going to Alaska, where Joseph Wood sent me this. We'll see how weird the sound gets if I say the word HAARP on YouTube. Apparently, they are doing something with HAARP, the University of Alaska, Fairbanks. It's not, they're saying it's not weather modification. Who knows? Scientists just tried to see inside an asteroid with radio waves from this HAARP array. Some people think HAARP was built to trigger natural disasters, but it may, in fact, help to save Earth one day. Okay. I don't know. Scientists have used a former U.S. military research facility famous for weather control conspiracy theories to learn more about the interior of a passing asteroid. HAARP is a range of 180 antennas located in Gakona, Alaska, capable of sending powerful high-frequency radio pulses into the sky and beyond. Built by the U.S. Air Force and the U.S. Navy in the 1990s. So it's got to be weird. Oh, man. I'm jealous. You saw Devo live in 1982? I'm super jealous. Let me tell you a story. I'm going to keep reading this, but let me tell you a story. My sister worked at a skate park in, what was the year? I don't know. It might have been 1982. Maybe it was 81 or 82. I was a skater. I was a skateboarder, but she worked at a skate park. And she came home from work one day and she was like, they had a grand opening at the skate park. And she was like, yeah, it was really cool. And this band played. They were called Devo. I was like, what? I could have just came to your job and seen Devo at the skated at the same time. Like, what? Dang it. Anyways. Anyway, so we know what HAARP is, and we know that a lot of people think that HAARP is controlling the weather. That's what people think. I don't know. What do I think? I don't know. I think they know a lot more than maybe they're letting on, but right? I think they understand quite a few things quite well about how the geoengineering works and the HAARP works and all that kind of stuff. Is it causing all of the weather things that we're experiencing? No, I don't think so. I don't think so. Some things, sure. All of the things, In reality, scientists have been using HAARP to probe the ionosphere, the upper region of Earth's atmosphere that interacts with plasma and electromagnetic radiation coming from the sun. Well, that sounds fun. In 2015, the facility was transferred from the ownership of the U.S. Air Force and University of Alaska Fairbanks, which has recently announced a range of experiments looking beyond Earth's gaseous blanket. One of these experiments, conducted in late December, involved shooting powerful pulses of long radio waves at an asteroid that was passing Earth at a distance double that of the moon at the time. The experiment aimed to learn about the interior of the asteroid, which could one day help design an effective Earth-saving mission in case this or another space rock were to intersect our planet's path. Okay. The asteroid known as 2010 XC15 is about 500 feet wide and classified as potentially hazardous, which makes it makes regular close approaches to Earth and could possibly one day hit the planet. Gathering data about the distribution of matter inside the asteroid could help engineers design a more effective deflection mission if it was ever needed. Well, they have the technology to bounce waves off of this asteroid that's twice as far away as the moon and know what is inside the asteroid. Which makes me think that bouncing mirrors off the moon is a weird story because, I mean, maybe they did. I don't know. Maybe they did. Or they just didn't need. They didn't need the mirrors anymore because they have this technology. During the experiment conducted on December 27th, HAARP kept firing radio waves at 210 XC15 for 12 hours. Scientific radio antennas, included those operated by amateurs all over the world, listened for the returning signals to help understand the environment the signals traveled through, as well as the properties of the asteroid. Okay. Well, doesn't sound like anything nefarious. It doesn't sound like anything nefarious. Are they doing other things with this HAARP stuff? Your guess is as good as mine. But I wanted to, it was an interesting article. That's what they're doing. That's what they're up to with HAARP these days. But here's also something to remember about climate change. Is that scientists all over the world studying climate change or the future impacts of climate change, with data and evidence and the, things that they thought, assumed were going to happen. Also, not just scientists, not just, random academics out there, but scientists hired by fossil fuel companies and the military also did lots of investigation into climate change and what was going to happen. And what they found was, they all kind of concluded the same things. Like none of them were wildly different. Right? All these entities did work on climate change. And they came to the same conclusions. And here's the thing to know about climate change, is that they came to these conclusions a long time ago. And everybody was like, nah, that's not going to happen. Or when is the climate change going to happen? Or stuff like that, right? But over the years, what they predicted played out exactly as they predicted. And you could say like, whoa, they really went to great lengths to make sure that it played out exactly as they predicted. Or you could say, well, they were pretty, all these scientists working for all these different entities, coming to the same conclusions, that they all looked at the data and the evidence in the same way and came to the same conclusion, and those conclusions were correct. Right? Analysis. How well have climate models projected global warming? Just this quick one from Zeke Hosfather. We could, we'll just look at this. I don't know about the sound on this. I don't think that it matters. Anyways. Here were climate models. 1975, 1981, 1988, 1990, right? And what the observations, IPCC assessments, right? What the observations are looking like compared to these models. They're not far off. Y'all want to see that again? I don't know. We'll try it again. Exxon did a really good job causing climate change, yes. Right. That's the big conspiracy, really. Exxon was like, well, if we keep burning fossil fuels, this is what's going to happen. And then they kept burning fossil fuels. And they were like, well, there you go. Exactly. Well said, Bella. Bella Lugrisi. What's up, Rockfin? How y'all doing? Scott Andrews says, in the Midwest, we quickly went from extreme cold to above average temperatures 3 days later. That's called weather whiplash. And I don't know, it takes a lot of energy. I see you, Phantomas. I'm going to take your call in a second. It takes a lot of energy over, decades and decades, right? It took a lot of energy to get us to this point in climate change. And to think, I'm not saying that they can't, obviously we know that geoengineering is a thing that is happening, right? That they have capabilities that we are aware of and that we're not aware of. That's, I feel like that's a given. But, to control all the things happening that are happening on the planet, the melting of the ice, the rising of the sea levels, the storms, the droughts, the fires. I mean, it was just, the energy would be immense. That doesn't mean that they're not expending some energy doing some things, but I'm just saying the energy to make all of that happen and for the whole thing to be made up, I don't see it. And over, not only that, but over time. Right. Not only that, but just over time, right? To have that graph coalesce so nicely with, if they were going to make the climate change happen, wouldn't they have done it a lot sooner if they had all the technology, right? Or wouldn't it, if it wasn't happening at all, now all of a sudden it's happening because they're making it happen. I mean, it's just get the story straight is what I'm trying to say. It's a lot of energy, right? Creative experiments, right? 3 kilowatts per square meter that the sun produces, reproducing that. I just have serious doubts. Um, Hold on one second. All right, Phantomas, how you doing?
I'm doing good. On the subject of the environment, it just seems like again we'll never ever have an honest conversation because the minute we start having that, uh, people don't know how to handle that or deal with that because they've been so sheltered. If that makes sense. And when you start talking about science and actual science, it's put in the terms of almost like witchcraft now. Like, well, that's what they say. It's like, well, the real problem here is you're arguing from a point of you have no knowledge base whatsoever, and the people that you're going to are charlatans. So again, why am I trusting you? That's the question about everything where it concerns people who are skeptical on anything regarding the environment. That there's some orchestration going.
Right. And they're, it's all made from people that want to disregard. Like I just constantly see, and these are people really that I respect on on other subjects. I'm not mad at the journalism that is being done on other subjects that these people do, but a lot of people that are in like the alternative journalist sphere, like over and over and over again, they just cast aside climate science or even looking at it in depth on any level, right? To go with their own assumption about it, and it's like that's
And
I love how you're always about the science and the data and the evidence, but when it comes to something that goes against your assumed position,
but you know what's
you're just
crazy,
so
Kevin?
willing to go nah. It's like all right,
What's
scientific.
crazy is what's crazy is all of the people, and if you're a climate skeptic, you need to understand this as well. If you're global warming, climate change, all of that skeptic, I want you to understand one thing. Listening to this, the people that you're going to, most of them are tied into the world of affiliate marketing. You can look it up. So I mean, you're telling me a climate and shit of all this crazy, but meanwhile, affiliate marketers are teaching you, well, yeah, you don't have to make anything. Just put the link in, and just sign up for my course, my program. See, that's the ridiculous thing of all of this is that the people who have become like the most loudest and the most obnoxious are people tied directly into this affiliate marketing bullshit.
Right. I mean, there's that, and there's I think that there is I think it's a lot of things at the same time. There's that. I think there is a little bit of a coordinated effort to push these things forward. Like I find it extremely dubious
Mm.
that Elon Musk has tapped Michael Schellenberger as a guy that's releasing the Twitter files. Like Elon Musk, is a whatever. People are very skeptical about Elon Musk and his motives, and I think they should be. For for all kinds of reasons, right? He wants to put chips in people's heads. He wants to fly us to Mars. He wants to sell us electric cars, right? There's all kinds of things to go like, really, Elon Musk? He wants to coup whoever we want for lithium. He's just a very shady dude. And here's
Yeah.
another thing that's shady about him is he's also, if he's fully in the pocket of the military industrial complex and the intelligence community. And he's fully also in the pocket of industrial civilization and disaster capitalism and, going forward with the business as usual that we're, that
Mm.
like, have more babies, sell more things, go to Mars, build some rockets, humanity forever, right? Like he's a full on like I don't know what you want to call it, a human exceptionalist or humans. He's a human supremacist. He's just humans are awesome and we're going to merge with machines and become even more awesome, right? So but he's he's full of all these saying, he's full of himself, and he's also prone to saying things like we should have more babies. We need more more stuff, more babies. And he taps Michael Schellenberger, who is clearly an op, in the interest of the fossil fuel industry. He's clearly like a very shady, climate skeptic or whatever you want to call him. He's shady. The things that he's doing are shady. He's not bringing you data and evidence. He's linking to a perspective opinion piece from a scientific journal that he wrote or was part of that wasn't actual science. He's linking to his own website that's full of graphs and charts that you don't really know whether these are from someplace, and they're missing all kinds of context, only the context that he wants to put on them. Like, he's just a dubious guy. So I think that there is definitely a coordinated effort out there by the powers that be, in the interest of the fossil fuel companies, to ram this idea down your throat that climate change isn't a thing, and it's totally made up. Tony Heller is the guy to go to, and Ice Age Farmer are the people to listen to, and I'll put in Cory Morningstar in that list too. Go check out Cory Morningstar's work. She's doing amazing work. Like,
I've heard that.
Bullshit. Bullshit. She's not doing amazing work. She's doing amazing work scrambling the brains of people who should understand what is going on the planet, right? She's couching herself as an environmentalist, but also, basically letting people know, come away from, anybody who's involved in the environmental movement is a paid, actor, and this whole environmental thing is all a scam, and it's all a green scam, and it's all, right? So she's not an honest actor either. I don't find Cory Morningstar to be an honest actor on any level, but so it's strange to me that this is the, and I'm not saying that everybody that says these things is paid or whatever, but it's just it's very weird to me that these people are repeating the same things all the time. And so I just think that there are people out there that don't even understand what they're repeating, and there's people that totally do understand what they're repeating. And the fact that it's very it's fashionable to say these things,
I think, because
is weird.
The fact that people dedicate their life to something in terms of the environment and their studies, and then to just be that kind of insulting, and it's almost like this level of ignorance, really vague, of being insulting, and just saying, well, that person may have a background in the environment and in the climate change, but have you ever thought about this? And it's like, yeah, I think they did think of that in their studies during that whole time, and you're not enlightening them in any way. And then when someone has that immediate critical thinking look in terms of the environment and saying, this is what's happening with the climate, it's like most people can't handle that bandwidth, and then they go to like a charlatan, like what you were saying before.
Right. And there's a few people out there that are doing great work on the level of trying to inform people about what's going on, both with the planet and with the octopus of oligarchical control, right? There are people that are, that understand, like Chris Martenson is one of those people. Love his work, right? And he's one of the go-to guys for, truthers, but he also understands climate change fully, right? They conveniently ignore what he says about climate change, which I find interesting. But there are other people, Lee Camp, and there are a few people out there. Actually, RFK Jr., the hero of the anti-big pharma movement, is an environmentalist. He's an environmental lawyer. He's been very involved, and he totally understands what's going on with the climate. But they, again, this whole group of people just ignore that whole side of like their work. And
it's crazy how they tossed him out just because of his position on that one thing that they disagree with. It's so progressive. It's across the board. It's not like being a critical thinker at all. Just because of that one position, you're going to toss out someone who has done so much in terms of the world,
Right.
on just because you disagree with that. If that's the case, Kev, then they need to toss out so many other people. If you want to go through their whole file of what's a little bit of a contradiction in their thinking that doesn't align with yours. But
Right.
that's the problem. The biggest problem here is this, Kev. That's one of the reasons why I didn't want to get into the Twitter files and all that shit, is because when you do look at something horrendous, or when you do look at something that's not on the up and up and something that's corrupted, what happens is it's only focused on this one little thing, and everything else is kind of like diverting from anything else that you want to talk about that's corrupted. And that's the issue I have with all of this. So if you want to talk about corruption and you're in a podcast world, or you write or something like that, but you are intentionally avoiding the subject because it doesn't fit your particular lens or your view,
Right.
I mean, it's only going to become worse and worse for society of what we develop as people
Right.
and how we think and how we process things.
And avoid is the correct word, right? They avoid.
Yeah.
They, they'll talk about it in the negative, but like in general, it's mostly avoidance. It's mostly like, we'll just not even go over into this land because, we don't want to spend too much time over here because we'll get our butts handed to us if somebody actually ever, right, tries to come at us with any real science. Like we want to quickly skirt around the issue, right? Like, and it happens all the time, and I just laugh and laugh every time it happens, and I'm just like, what is going on? What is going on over there? Also, Russell Brand, right? Judy Truitt, you're right. Russell Brand understands.
Well, I mean, that's
But,
one of the reasons why.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why I don't like the January 6th thing, where everyone's talking about free the January 6th prisoners. Okay, let's free them, but you have not talked about any of the other political prisoners who have been put in jail for decades.
Yeah.
So are you serious? And
Right.
that is also part of this affiliate political marketing, if you will.
Right.
It makes us go in a direction again where it's completely dishonest and disingenuous.
Yeah. Well, and it's also that's a fashionable topic of the day too, right? Like whatever's recent news and makes people get all excited and whatnot. But yeah, I find the Twitter files is an interesting thing. I mean, on one level, it's interesting to see what is going on behind the scenes and in the past of Twitter and what they've been doing, and like, okay, at face value, there's something cool about that. But there's just some things about it, especially the Michael Schellenberger thing. Man, that just makes me go, what is going on? Like, what is really going on? Like, why this guy? I don't know. Maybe he picked him to appeal to a certain demographic. Like, that's the only thing I can think of. Like, Michael Schellenberger appeals to a certain demographic, and maybe that's why he was tapped. But and Matt Taibbi is a different. Matt Taibbi understands climate change, right? Like, he totally knows what's going on. Like, he's a lefty-ish guy, has always been. And I've heard his shows before. He totally understands the climate change thing. He does.
He does.
He gets
I don't know if I've heard him in depth in terms of climate change, but
he used to talk about it more He used to talk about it more on the Useful Idiots show that he had with Katie Halper. They would talk a little bit more about climate change, but not too much, not a lot. Honestly, it wasn't a lot. Climate change is not a fashionable issue. It's just not a nice topic for anybody, left or right. Like, lefties don't even talk about climate change because it's just not a popular topic. You lose viewers. I've heard lefties say this all the time. I don't talk about climate change because my ratings go down. Like, okay, well,
I heard that too. Yeah, that in a meeting.
Yeah.
So,
well, thanks for the call, man. I got to wrap this up pretty soon.
I did want to say one thing.
Go for it.
I wanted to say an R.I.P. to Ann Pointer of the Pointer Sisters, great singer.
Okay.
And also R.I.P. to Fred White.
Right.
The Earth, Wind, and Fire group behind such a.
And he played with Donny Hathaway as well.
September.
Yeah.
Yeah, Donny Hathaway as well. Yeah. Drummers don't get the credit that they deserve. The timekeepers of the universe. And if you're listening and you didn't realize like how important they are, they're vastly important. They should actually. I know this is controversial for me to say, Kev, but they should take the Rush method of where they credit everyone in the song who played during the session.
Yeah.
But there's a reason why they don't do that, because the music industry is so crooked, and one of the only ways they can get paid is from the touring and the percentages of the publishing. And
Right.
yeah, so I mean, but yeah, I
Well,
think
that's
in
why
terms of,
getting on the songwriting credits is so important.
yeah, I mean, but that's why, going back to what I was saying about Rush, they realized that they were going to be arguing constantly with all their lawyers, and they said, you know what, let's not do this. Let's just split it 3 ways. Everyone gets the same credit on every single song.
That actually is quite democratic and fair.
Yeah, yeah.
Unless you really are truly the writer of the song, right? So, I mean, I don't know. It's a different. It depends. You know, I'm not necessarily a Democrat when it comes to art. So, and that's a different subject. Because I mean, if you're the one that's writing the music and you're the one that's directing the, you know, if you're the
Dictator Sandbloom in the building.
That's right. That's absolutely right. Authoritarian control. That's all I'm out. That's all I'm after. All right, man. Thanks.
I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Peace. What's up, William? How you doing?
Hey, I like to say Happy New Year, but it's having trouble getting in that mindset. Let's just say we're in a battle New Year, I would say.
Right. It's a new year. It's a new year.
Yeah.
That we could say that.
Right. And
Yeah.
thumbs up. Thank you for mentioning Chris Martinson, because, man,
Yeah.
he's been on top of this from right out of the blocks like Peter McCullough. I mean, early on. And, he had a great study on the toxicity levels of ivermectin, of course, near zero. You know what I mean? The safest drug ever. And I can't find that on YouTube anymore, but I was just searching for it through Yandex, see if I can find it and post it. He did have a year review article, I should say YouTube, and for those who aren't familiar with him, that'd be a good introduction. And I dropped that in the live chat. I just wanted to say,
Okay.
along with reviews of the show that are interesting. I know
Okay,
you're
cool.
about to wrap it up, so I'll let you go. And
All right.
for covering everything.
Well, thanks for calling in, William. Keep your head up. You sound like we might be, feeling a certain way, but tomorrow's another day.
Hey, we got nothing to do but fight, man. Right?
Right.
What else? What other things we have? Give up?
Right. Exactly. All right, William. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day. Peace. All right, guys. That about does it for me. And let's see. I'm gonna wrap it up. Checking my coffees. I did not get any coffees yet, as of yet, or Rockfin tips. But thanks for hanging out with me every single day, and I will see you tomorrow at noon, 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And until next time, peace.